Say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? What's going on, man? Happy Sunday to you. Hope you guys had a good day, had a good restful weekend. Ready to get ready for this Monday, man. We're happy to have this great live with you today, my man,
Man,
Aaron,
we
man.
have another heavy hitter. We have a top
Mm-hmm.
month. We have a big dog. You know what I'm saying? And it being March Madness, he do got a bag. You can Google him. But aside of that, he's a man of God. Aside of that, he's a husband. Aside of that, he's a father. Besides that, he's an entrepreneur, author, leader, activist. Man, this man is a powerful man of God, and we're grateful to have and welcome to the platform again, Mr. Aaron Victor. Welcome to the platform, my
Yes,
brother.
sir. Yes, sir.
Listen, let's
Yes,
go. We
sir.
need some
Yes,
air
sir.
horns.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go. Come
You know what I'm
on,
saying?
Coach
Bow,
Trump. Let's
bow,
go.
bow, bow, bow,
Bow, bow,
bow.
bow, bow.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
I love the
So
energy.
look, being that it is March Madness, I thought it would
Yes,
be
sir.
very appropriate because
Mm,
me being from Florida, me
mm,
running the games at the Florida Gators game, it
mm.
just happened to enjoy clutch play. You know what I mean? And one thing, I'm talking to my son,
Yeah.
and he is in ninth grade. He is in the top region. He's at the number one high school program, Grayson in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, and he's trying to play varsity. Aaron, and you know that big jump from, when I can play, but can you hoop? I can hoop, but can you kill? I can
Right.
kill, but can you win? So he's going through these like psychological and mental and preparatory steps that being able to play is just par for course. Being a good person is par for course. Working hard is par for course. Now there's these other intangibles that separate you. So he got blown out, and his mom was just like, man, they got running clock. They played 85. It was a big time AAU program in Atlanta, and they
Mm,
got played Tennessee, another big time program today. And it was like, man, they got a bunch of people dunking. They in ninth grade, but they like already 6'5", 6'7".
mm,
And he's
mm,
like,
mm.
and I was just like, CJ, there should be no game. If you're good enough, and I
Yeah.
truly believe you're
Sure,
this
you get
good,
rattled.
there's no game you should ever play where there should be mercy rule and blowout. Like you should be able to perform by just your mental, you're pushing your teammates, holding each other accountable, being tough. And so today they played a team. He almost got dunked on, but they was dunking on, but they lost by 7. And they had a
Right.
chance to win. And he dropped 21 and he got some trench rebound. It's like, CJ, that's what I was telling you. Like, we just want, like, the step for you now is figure it out. Like, don't lay down. Don't just because somebody has some whatever, that has nothing to do with playing the game. You still got to go in there and play that game and figure it out. And he's in that figure out stage, Aaron.
Right.
Talk about how important it is whether you're in basketball or whether you're in man. And we're going to get into more about you, but I just want to open it up. Talk about how important it is as you're trying to figure out that you have a sound ear, mentor, a father figure, a big brother, or uncle. And Chiz, I want to hear from you too. As you're
Mm,
trying to figure this thing out, whatever that thing is, basketball, marriage, entrepreneurship, and you know that you was good where you used to be. You was really good where you used to be. And Chizzy and Aaron, you're trying to get to where you really want to be, but you're
mm.
you're getting you're taking L's. You're getting smoked in the area. You drop the ball in another area, but somebody letting you know that's part of the process of getting there. That's not doesn't mean you can't get there, but part of that process is addressing that, facing that, dealing with that as you navigate. Aaron, I want you, with all your background, man, just talk about that importance of having that in your ear, man.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. I love the fact that CJ has you because for a lot of us, we don't have somebody who's been down the path who can actually take that broad perspective and say, hey, I see you. I know where you're going. This is possible. So for a
Mm.
lot of us, we're figuring out what's possible. Even if you got a dad in the home or you got some uncles, you might be on a path that ain't nobody ever been on. And
Yeah.
that was a lot of my life. Is like I was on some stuff. My parents was like, we know how to go to school, but we don't know how to go to school for sports. Like we don't have a clue on
Right.
what to
Mm.
do. And so the fact that you were able to say, hey, let me normalize this experience for you, you
Yeah.
okay, but this now is the expectation. And when you create the expectation, now we get a
Mm.
chance to minimize the frustration. And that's a lot of
Mm.
times what makes us give
Let's go
up
back.
and
Let's go
try.
back. Hold on. Let's not skip over that bar. Let's not skip over that bar. We need to run that back. That's the tagline of today's show. This is the tagline of today's show. Kai, I want you to put this in the YouTube clip. Say that bar again, man. When you set expectation, say that expectation, frustration. I want you to say how you said it, man.
Yeah. So when you can set the expectation, you minimize the frustration.
Good.
And a lot of us are walking around frustrated because we haven't had anybody set the expectation for us. Like, I love the fact that you told him, hey, I don't care if y'all lose, but you're good enough is never supposed to be running clock or blowout. You can elevate the performance of the people that's around you to allow for this to be competitive. That's an expectation. So now once we get that level of expectation, now you can get into the next level of, hey, let me show you how to win. Like, y'all had a chance to win. Let me show you that. Shizzy, I'm going to get that to you because y'all done got me started with this one.
Yeah, and the great thing about setting expectation is gaining clarity. The clarity that he or you, the individual, doesn't necessarily have when they'll set that expectation and have an expectation that this is a space that you know you can be in. Now, let's allocate resources, supports, and normalize what that looks like from the perspective of this is what you need to live up to that expectation and to walk into that truth, into that fullness, so that you don't feel overwhelmed when the moment comes and it arrives and you recognize that this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So the expectation, it just puts it out in plain English, and it puts it out in the atmosphere to let them know that you're okay. You're gonna be okay. Now let's see what we can do to continue to just push you to that level and put the right people in your, as you was talking about earlier, put the right things in your space, get the right consistency around you, so that now it just becomes a part of what that expectation will be, man. I like that. And all of us.
I like it a lot. So much so we're gonna stay there. This is good. So Aaron, back to Aaron. So talk about men. What is a key frustration through your work, through your mentorship, through your own experience as a man? What are we experiencing as men? And Chizzy, you could chime in on the main frustration, and you realize you never had a clear expectation on what you should or could be doing because you were just trying to figure it out. What's the area for men in that?
I'm going to give you one quick and then giving a quick example. Here's the one thing about us as men. I love us for this, but we don't talk to each other. We don't. And so I remember getting married that, and if me and my brother didn't have the conversation, because again, my parents have been married 17 years before they got divorced, but nobody's having this conversation. And you grew up in the church and you like, I took the time and I got the wife and I got this. And I was going through hell the first 18 months. Like I thought two things. I said, clearly I picked the wrong one, or I didn't know it was going to be this much work. And nobody was talking to me about that until my brother said, yo, dog, I feel the same way. I said, oh, then this is part of the process. So you normalize it. Then I start talking to old heads. Did y'all feel like this? Oh, yeah, man. You know, we just figured you figured out, man. You're a good dude, man. You just figured out. Wait, hold on, wait a minute. I'm getting ready to pull the ripcord because I thought I did something wrong. Like, we have to be able to talk to each other and to be able to put you up on some game. Because again, what's it going to do? It's going to minimize your frustration and normalize the experience and the journey, which keep people locked in a whole lot longer.
Yo, just listen to you saying that, right? I remember when I was going through my stuff in my relationship, my parents have been married 50 plus years. My brother's been married, 20 something years, almost 30 years. And I never, when I say never, I never sat and had conversations with them. Only afterwards, early in hindsight, once it's done and dusted, and now I've been through a divorce and I'm reflecting on, the things that may or may not have went wrong. I never had a conversation with them just to say, man, this is what I'm struggling with.
That's crazy.
What is your advice?
So hold on, Chizzy. I want to make sure I'm clearly, because I know you personally, I just want to make sure I'm clearly interpreting what you're saying. Yeah. The mother of your children, are you saying not until after the divorce did you actually have a one-on-one frank conversation with your own dad and your own brother about what the expectations are in that space?
That's wild.
Now, that could be my deficits. It could even be, because a lot of times when you're functioning within a space, you got blind spots. You don't really see what's going on. And the resources may very well be at your disposal. But for some reason, for me, and I can only speak to my experience, for me, I was just so bent on having it done and being present and being married. I didn't even realize what resources I needed, in spite of the fact that I've seen this my entire life. I've been around my entire life. I didn't even realize the resources that I may have needed when I was going through the heat. Obviously, it's easy to talk about it once you're done and dusted because, you know, we and I have talked about it numerous times. Like, if I knew then what I know now, and I know that's an age-old saying that people hear, but had I, as you said, set the expectation from the beginning and said, this is what I need to be successful in this space. This is what she may need in this space. Successful, we probably wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now. So to sit here, I'm having an aha moment for myself. Even saying it is like, yo, I could have very well had so many other resources at my disposal that would have led me to a different path, you know. But being in the frame, I just couldn't see outside of that. And I know I'm not the only one that's having that experience.
And Aaron, I want to get this back to you, and I want you to even double that, because I think now we're talking about roadblocks to this expecting frustration as men, and to be frank, ego, right?
Yeah,
it's like
that's what it was.
Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah,
You
what it
know
was, right?
your brother's right there. You know your dad.
Right there.
Like something that's important is your marriage. Hey, humble yourself to say, hey, dad, hey, bro, can you just advise me on some 3 important things I need to know? Is it a couple books? Because I know I suffer from a huge ego, because I was really studying the difference between pride and ego. And the reason why I landed on men really got to address the ego, because we need to see that self-respect. Like we're not gonna put out here and make an announcement and we're not even gonna put it on social media. We're not gonna make a post, but internally, how we're operating, you better respect me. Like, or I'm gonna get my respect. Like whatever we're doing, it's not just I'm here and I'm enough. My presence is enough. No, it's like I'm here and you go respect me. You know, my wife is gonna respect me, my kids are gonna respect me, my colleagues are gonna respect me. And the challenge of blurring the lines of ego compared to confidence is you don't think you need help.
Right.
And
that would be.
So,
that would be.
So when you're in ego, and I give it back to you guys, you subconsciously are also saying and giving off vibes to people. Oh, I don't need help, knowing darn well you need help. Aaron, I give it back to you.
Here's another thing. I love how you talk about that. And so I think it's 2 things that we can talk about. I think one is culturally, that I know coming from my family's in respective marriage, it was almost like a red badge of courage that everybody had already been married at least twice. Like, so it's almost like, oh, that's kind of what's going to happen. And I go into it saying, I can't be like them. Now, that was probably out of ego and I'm better than them and they just didn't do the right things. It was probably a lot of that. So when I get to that point where my face is cracked, my emotions is cracked, my spirit is going, whoa, what just happened here? All of a sudden, now I became more open to have a conversation and say, oh, you too. But I'm gonna go to the other side of this too, though. If we go back to your example with your son isn't supposed to come to you and say, hey, Dad, what am I supposed to do? Because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. CJ doesn't know. Versus you've been on the path. You've played in high school. You've played at the next level. Like you've played, so you know a similar path that he's on. And we a lot of times as men, it's been cultured into us to say, man, that's just part of manhood, baby. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna be all right though.
That's really good, bro. That's a really good point, man. Chizzy, I'll let you add to that. That's really good.
It's that responsibility. So now, even in hindsight, I have a couple friends of mine who are entering into that space, who are thinking about marriage and in relationships and entering. And I'm like, my lens is a little different. How I talk to them is a little different because I recognize that they don't know what they don't know, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have a responsibility now to be like, look, man, take it from my example. You know, where the space that I occupy, you know, being the sacrificial land, and sometimes that's necessary to be able to help somebody else. You know, you should do X, Y, and Z. You know, you guys should seek counseling. Like you should get mentors. You guys should have regular scheduled date nights. Like these are the things that you need to put into your space.
Oh, good,
you may not want to do it. You may not have the time to do it. You may not think you have the time to do it. You may be overwhelmed by everything around you. But I can tell you with a certainty from my own personal experience that because I didn't do it, and what I've seen to work with people that I know, it will behoove you to put these things in place to ensure you have success in your relationship and evaluate it on a regular basis, just like how you'll do your business. I have a friend of mine who's extremely astute in business, but when it comes to his marriage, he struggles. So the same energy he gives to his business, he doesn't necessarily give to his marriage. So he looks at it like and I know for him, it's sort of an emotional gap that he has. So I have to talk to him in those terms. I'm like, look, well, you understand business. You understand that each quarter you have to get yourself out of the red or black or whatever term you want to use, and you have to allow yourself to show profitability. What does that look like in your marriage? What investments do you have to make in your marriage so that you can be in profitability and evaluate it in those terms every quarter? And if you're not doing that, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Wow, you know what I mean? That's so good, Chizzy. But you said something powerful. You said I felt the responsibility to tell them this. They didn't sign up for a course. They didn't sign up a program. He's in my purview. He's in my network, and I know what he's about to get into. Hey. I
gotta reach out.
To Aaron's point, what Aaron is saying, and Aaron, I'll let you elaborate even more on this. It is our responsibility to take responsibility for men to navigate manhood. We have to be intentional as cultural men to see another man and be like, hey, bro, let me holler at you for a minute. I never forget, and I give you this story and I'll probably to you. I was young, married, and I got married young and I'm in my 20s. And we're on a tour. We're in Europe. We're actually with the Bermuda national team, and we had to stop in London before we go and play some of it. We kind of always did this London stop. But we went to the club, and I'm like 24, 25, and Aaron, I took on responsibilities to build my girl since I was 18, so I really haven't been outside.
Right.
So I'm outside, I'm drinking, and I'm grinding on some girls, right? Some just grabs my, he's 6'7", he's one of our leaders, he just grabs like my collar or my clothes, bro, and just pulls me off. Doesn't say anything, doesn't say a word. I go and grind again, Chizzy, because I'm excited. I'm in London. He pulls me off again, and I stop. But it's like he cared about me. He cared about my wife. He cared about what I stood for. He knew what type of man I was, what type of man I wanted to be, and he just didn't stand by. Which we have to be honest sometimes as men. We see you headed somewhere that ain't good. But Chizzy, we pick and choose when we want to be responsible for our brother. We like, that ain't my business. That ain't my place. You know what I mean? That ain't like, no, it is, bro. If that's another brother that's married, that's a father, that's an entrepreneur, that's trying, that's going to school, you have a responsibility and a duty to just intervene and do what needs to be done or say what needs to be said. Aaron, I give it back to you, bro.
I mean, if we go simple, man, am I my brother's keeper? And if the answer is yes, then we then have to ask ourselves the question. Because me and my brother were having this conversation yesterday. And so the question you ask, I like how you say, you see somebody over there like, oh, I don't like how they going. But you got to ask the question, am I assigned to him? Because if you are assigned to him, then it is your responsibility to intervene. But if you are not assigned to him, then you will go jump into something that might get some wounds and some conflict. And so there's a couple of things we got to navigate. Is, are we navigating the hero complex or the pride of I know it all? Or is it, this is my assignment based on relationship, based on what it is that I see, and allow for, because if that's your assignment, God is going to make the path easy for you to get in with no resistance, because all of a sudden, most of us that are struggling like that, whether it's business and relationship or whatever it is, we've been waiting for somebody to see us to come help us out.
Yeah.
That's so good, bro. So what you're saying is contextually, relationship equity has to be assessed. You know what I mean? Like how much relationship equity do I have with this person? That they'll receive what I'm going to say. I love it. That was a great point to make.
That's largely in a lot of situations, the responsibility. But again, we pick and choose the things that we want to take responsibility for, the things that we want to do, because
Facts.
we also know that it definitely can sometimes highlight some of our own deficits. If we jump into a situation and try to intervene in a situation, and like you said, it comes from this hero complex. It comes from a space of I know it all, as opposed to a genuine rapport that you have, as opposed to a genuine desire. I'm sorry, not a desire, but a genuine assignment that you've been placed, that God has placed in your life. Especially if you like my friends, I've known them for a number of years. I know their kids, they know my kids. So it was like, they watch the pod. So I have a responsibility. I can't be up here, not being my brother's keeper. I can't be up here talking about certain things and not doing my best, my utmost to ensure that people in my immediate circle are not getting the things that I get. Is a responsibility I have. You know what I mean? So even now, at the space that I'm in now, I'm looking for stuff that I need from the people. All right, who can I look to that can support me in this stuff that I'm struggling with at this phase of my life? Like, who's the people that I need in my corner to align with, so that I can now advance in areas. I think that's a consistent evaluation that all men should be doing, no matter where. If you're a counselor, if you're an educator, no matter where you are in your journey. As we talk about the journey continue, you have to make those evaluations on a regular basis, because life and experiences and blind spots are a continuous thing that we have. You don't just wake up every day, and just because you're an expert in the field, it means that you don't have blind spots in other areas of your life. And that evaluation is important to continue to allow yourself to grow and to build, so that you now can take that same information that's gained and again impart that to somebody else who needs it, because that's also part of your responsibility as well. Yeah.
I love it, and I love it. And Chizzy, I want to get this back to Aaron as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I was thinking about your point about evaluating your own relationships when you're talking about this influence, and um, I remember when I was in Bermuda, and everybody said I was the bee's knees, I was the this that. Give me a award, and I was like, I was empty, Aaron. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm running the same routine. I'm speaking at this, I'm speaking at that, but my marriage is a strain as per normal. But also, I was pouring out constantly, and I didn't have anybody really pouring into me. And part of me moving to the States right before COVID was I was intentional to be friends with Jeremy Anderson and Kendall Ficklin. Like I was
Yeah.
like, look, these two guys have poured, like when I'm around them, they're pouring
Yeah.
into me. Like
Right.
it's one of the rare spaces, and I know me and Aaron talked about because we kind of invest in the same, personal development space.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, man, I gotta go places, I gotta go to conferences, I gotta go to masterminds until I find that right algorithm, that right network. I don't know quite where it's at, but I'm gonna invest until I figure it out. And I did that like extensively from 2014, and then I landed on 2019, and that's when, and I give this, Quinn, I give it to both of you guys. You got to evaluate your starting five, and you're included.
Yeah.
The guys who I played with in high school could not help me play at college
Right.
of manhood. The guys who I played with in college could not help me play with the pros of manhood. And I had to go and get scouted and get networked and build trust with people who were playing manhood at those levels. Does that make sense? It was like I had to go ingratiate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, that 14 and 19, that 5 years, they were like, Crump, you my man now. So David Shan's like, you my man now. And we all was growing in those spaces and those conversations. And in one of those moments, I think 20 or 22, I met Aaron. You know what I mean? So it's like we was on part of that ET influence. So all I'm saying is, at some point as a man, part of your responsibility is to assess your starting five. Be like, yo, we could win the high school championship right now, but
Right.
we couldn't even enter the college ranks. We couldn't even enter the draft with none of us. Like none of the top dogs would be looking to recruit us to be a part of their team. And
Right.
I gotta level up my training, my discipline, my focus, my work on myself so that I can improve my starting five. Aaron, I get that back to you, man.
Here's what I don't want people to miss on what you said though, is that you talked about from 2014 to 2019. That's a 5-year process, you know, in which you were willing to seek out something more and invest in that and time and resources because there was something missing.
Thousands of dollars, bro.
And the thing that many of us miss, because again, remember, we as men don't talk, and women know that we'll go in our caves and we'll ruminate on it, we'll think through it. And the thing that frustrates us, again, back to, if we create the expectation, it minimizes frustration. So I've been thinking on this thing for the last 6 months. All right, I finally made the decision, coach. Crump, I'm going to the mastermind. These dudes was crazy. And you like, yeah, it's okay that the first one you went to, because the first one I went to didn't there. But because we don't have anybody talking about it, they go, well, I ain't doing no more masterminds now. I tried it one time. I'm good now.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to, you got to give it long enough and be humble and open enough to allow for the process to work. And because we think on it so long before we get started, we think it's supposed to be instant and we stop.
Yeah. I also think
Man, bro, your context, I gotta just say, your context game is on point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, his context game is on point, Chizzy. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you go, Chizzy. But I just has that point. I'm like, because, like, again, I think you highlight a great point that me and Chizzy talk about. In your mind, because you've been thinking about it a long time, you thinking you actually put it out in the marketplace for a long time. No, you just tried it, really just a couple times. But just because you have so much emotional and mental bandwidth that's exhausted from thinking about it and planning about it internally, you're like, man, it don't work. It ain't like, nah, that's not how it works in real life. You got to push stuff through. You got to build stuff up. You got to take time with things that's going to be valuable. Go ahead, Chizzy.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of I also think it's important to remember and to look at those experiences along that journey to this thing that we're aspiring to. So ultimate manhood, quote unquote, is the thing that we're aspiring to have. There are a lot of great experiences that can be had along that journey. I don't know if you read the book The Alchemist. You probably have. He was definitely on this goal for this pot of gold, so to speak. Not understanding that along his journey he had all these amazing experiences that he had that he kind of undervalued, kind of shrugged to the side, and didn't really quite value until he got to the end, and it's like, that was the journey. Like, that's the goal. Like, that is the takeaway. All of these experiences are the takeaway. Because, I don't want people to think that there is this huge, grandiose something that you have to chase and be and try to attain for you to get to a space where you're like, you can breathe and you can kind of sit back. Like, all of these things that we're talking about, even the brothers who have been to masterminds who feel like, it's not quite something that I want to do any longer because maybe I didn't get. I'm pretty sure if they sat back and reflected on those moments, there's a lot of great, important information that they can extrapolate from those one experiences, from that one experience. So along life, I also believe in me. It's about occupying the space that you're in, being present in that space, and seeing the 100% value and the benefit of what you're experiencing now. That's not to say you shouldn't aspire to have and to be better and to do more, but I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that what you're experiencing is definitely a huge part of the total journey, the journey as a sum total. And it's not necessarily always about this grand outcome that a lot of us are endeavoring to have. So I just want to point that small little piece out, because there's a lot of value in looking at the trajectory and saying, I get nuggets for this at each particular point along this journey.
And listen, I want to make a huge pivot because I got Aaron on, and I want to hear from him about this space. It's the hot topic in the market, bro. And I was at a gathering earlier today, and it came up again. And in our world of entrepreneurship, all three of us are entrepreneurs. There's three products that's always going to be in play, always going to be profitable, always going to be an opportunity. And that's relationships, health, fitness, and finance, right? If you do any product or service in that area, you're going to get clients, you're going to get sales. But it seemed like we also know the answer. In health, stop eating so much and go exercise, right? It's just like you got to get with a coach to get you to get disciplined with that, right? And finance is like manage the money that you have. Like, it's very simple. But we get to the relationship space, particularly heterosexual between man and woman. They're the type of advice and insight that people are giving now. It is. I was talking to somebody at my church who oversees the singles ministry of people trying to get in a relationship, and it's 6,000 members. I'm at my church. And then I go have a meeting today, impromptu. I got a group of sisters who was going to play golf, and they polished women in their 30s trying to find a good man, just can't seem to find. I got a group of men, can't find. I'm like, I feel like you guys can let me know. We're in a relationship epidemic of like who to find, where to find, how to find, because I feel like men know that's one of your most important decisions is finding that partner in life. Me and Aaron, we got ours, we're working on kids, had some challenges, but I just want to hear from you, bro. Like what is the thing you're hearing and what advice you got for men about the most important thing they need to know as it relates to relationships, particularly with a significant other?
So I'm gonna say this. So ladies, if y'all listening, y'all not gonna like my answer. I'm just gonna say that out the gate. Y'all not gonna like my answer. Fellas, it's okay to be choosy. The reason I say that, especially when it comes to men of color, we are outnumbered, women to men ratio. We are outnumbered. So you don't have to just take what's nicely presented to you. If we want to go to practical application of the scriptures, try every spirit by the spirit and see which is of God. She could be fine. She could have a great job. She can have that, but she might be the wrong one for you. And a lot of times we don't take the time to even open ourselves up enough to be able to see that. So then we try to make it, it just kind of happened. And now we leaving dead bodies and emotions in our wake, as opposed to how do we healthily be able to vet and create the conversation? Now, I'm also say this to the fellas and ladies, if y'all hearing this, you tell them I said it. Typically after one or two conversations, the guy knows if he gonna move forward with you. And we need to be honest and stop playing because she fine, because she feeling you, and because it's nice to have her around, that ain't no future in it, but it's nice to have something temporary, and that's not fair to her. And so we got to be honest that one.
Let's hear from Chizzy. Let's hear from Chizzy on that point. Chizzy, is that true? Chizzy, is that true, Chizzy?
It's people out here who don't even know who they are. So they feel like the validation that they're seeking in other people is what they aspire to have. I mean, I don't even
answer the question. Answer the question. After two conversations, do you know with the young ladies that you've been courting in the past 2 years, Chizzy? Do you know if it's going to be something in the future? After two.
It don't take that long. It don't take that long. It takes a little bit of time for you to really, again, I said the measurement, but see, for me, my people don't really evaluate the ruler that they're using to measure success or a good partner. The ruler is what matters. So if your ruler is superficial stuff, materialism, visual appearances, if that's the top of the list from the criteria, then you're getting full short every time. But if the ruler is set based on purpose, based on her being a woman of God, based on her finding her own spirituality and her own voice and her own, relationship with God and relationship with Christ, then that's a good measurement. You can measure based on that. And then all these smaller attributes, like the physical attributes, the financial attributes, the emotional intelligence, all of those things kind of fall into place. Because the truth is, you're not going to check every box. But if you're measuring based on a box that's already screwed up to begin with, because you haven't evaluated yourself and you don't even have a relationship with God yourself, then these are the pitfalls you're going to fall into. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm like, all right, I know I can go out every day and find a beautiful woman. That's easy because, like you said, they outnumber us. But that doesn't mean it's quality. That doesn't mean she's a woman of God. That doesn't mean she's getting prayed for me. That doesn't mean that she could guide me and coach me spiritually. That doesn't mean she's a great helper. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I tell people, look, just focus on you, bro. Don't worry about, like, it's okay to be by yourself. It's a difference between being alone and being lonely. You know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of people go wrong, because they function in this.
I give it back. I give it back. I give it back to Aaron.
Go
I
ahead.
give it back to you. Great answer. I give it back to Aaron.
Hold on, Chizzy, you just dropping these bombs in this joint real quick. Lord have mercy. Okay, so I want us to make sure that we put this out here too, because if women are watching this and listening to this, I need you to hear what he said though. You can be a woman of God, you can pray, you can be astute in your word, you can be beautiful, have all the boxes checked, and you just not good together with him.
Yeah.
We have those examples in the Bible. You know, Paul and Barnabas did a lot of great work together, but at one point he needed Silas and they had to move on. And a lot of times, because people are checking the boxes, we're trying to force something to make it work. That's what I'm saying. For men as leaders, we actually have the opportunity to be choosy and to actually protect her, so we leave her in better shape than we found her. And a lot of times we leave them in worse shape because we're not being honest up front after 2 conversations to say, hey, listen, you fly, but it ain't gonna work for us. And just let her cry a little bit, but she's gonna appreciate it later, because now you make room for the person that she's gonna be connected to, that it's gonna be easy for her to be able to be all of the things that she needs to be.
Yeah, I'm glad both of y'all gave context to y'all answers. When you first said be choosy, I was like, yo, he's talking real spicy right now. He like, I need you to get one here and get one here. I need you to get one over there. I was like, yo, my man came out blazing.
I mean, I interpreted what you were saying in the right way. Like, you know, make sure your criteria.
You can't leave stuff up interpretation, because they clickbait. You know,
Right.
You heard what Aaron said?
Aaron Victor telling people to be promiscuous and all this foolishness. No, I'm glad you put it in perspective for people, man. But fellas, I just want to say to fellas, you know, just sit down, man. Just sit down and take a break and just look at you and get yourself right with God. And this woman, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. You know what I'm saying? The takeaway is not all the things being added unto you. Like, that's not the benefit. That's not the reason why you do it. It's the seek ye first part. Make that the priority. I do this. I'm endeavoring to do this myself. Make that the priority, because it means that no matter what, whether you got a good woman or you don't have a woman at all, you're seeking God first, and he's going to provide your needs, and he knows what you need. But you got to take time to just sit down, relax, get some mentors, have some brothers who could pour into you spiritually, get your mind right, get your relationship right with God first. I can't understate that, man. And that way the woman will come.
But you said something though that goes double back on the point that you've been making in this segment when we made this live, is you gotta understand who you are and who God says you are.
Facts.
Because then that's when your criteria shows up.
Yeah.
Then that's when you understand that, hey, Crump knows it. There's certain women that can't handle. If he was a basketball coach, they can't handle it. Yeah. They could not handle. They not built for that on the road all the time, all the traveling, watching film. They not
usually spending money on other people's kids.
Yeah, they not built for that. But if that's where God is calling you, and you know that's where you're going, then you can't have your interests divided that way, because now you not being who he says you're supposed to be in this particular marketplace space is actually going against him, which that's sin, and now you living in that. Right. So I think being able to take that time to understand, how am I wired? I will say this. Going in almost be 20 years in May, I can say this: my wife loves me, but I also knew part of my criteria, if I got a woman who needed me, it was never gonna work. After 20 years, my wife would be hurt, she gonna cry, but she gonna move on. And that's one thing I love about it, is like, she wants me, which makes our relationship better, which allows for us to go into different in a level of intimacy with each other and God, because it's not this needy piece that creates this undue weight and unfair thing that you place on any individual in a relationship that allows for people to buckle underneath the pressure.
Codependency versus interdependency. Codependency versus interdependency. You know what I'm saying?
You guys are talking spicy. I share this with my coaches, with my clients, is that from a man perspective, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this because you guys are just great. This is a lot of gems. This is a good live, by the way. Um,
Fact.
but one of the things I say, man, what I've learned, this is what I've learned from myself, the work I've done on myself, and the work I've done on my clients, and I really feel like this equation works. I call it the man's third, right? So the man's third is a third of your neediness comes from God. Another third of your neediness comes from mature, masculine, initiated men, right? So it can't just be a man. It got to be a man who stands on what he stands on all the time. And then another third is women and children. The difference between God, he naturally gets you. He made you in his image. He knows everything about you. You don't have to explain yourself at all to God. A mature masculine man also gets you. You don't have to really explain yourself to him. You can just show up. What's up, fam? Good to see you, bro. Let's shoot hoop. Let's play cards. Let's watch the game. Like, you know, you feel safe. But women and children, it's your responsibility to teach and train them how to treat you.
Yeah.
And that is something that it gets lost. So two things get lost in my humble opinion. One, a man don't even know how to do that with women and children or how to treat and train them to treat him. And two, he has so much insecurity, self-doubt, self-worth that the percentage is so much on how he feels about himself is how the women and children treat him. That he's so dependent on their responses, on his own human existence and validation and worth as a man, that he's neglected the time that's mandatory to be with men, and he's neglected the time that's mandatory to be with God because he's doubled down on chasing his validation and spending extra time with his women and children.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other piece that kind of goes unspoken, obviously not to take away from what you're saying. Yes, your external validation is going to do you wrong every time. It's going to do you wrong every time. That man validation, that God validation is all you really need. You know what I'm saying? It's all you really need. But I think the other part that we really don't discuss a lot is that beast, that fleshly beast, that fleshly beast that drives a lot, that is even misunderstood by men and greatly misunderstood by women.
But Chizzy, before you go into the beast, because we got a whole nother segment about the beast, I want to hear from Aaron. Because that's gonna go somewhere else. But we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
That's validation from external sources. To your point,
but I know. But we're gonna circle back. Let's get back. I want to hear from Aaron about those thirds. What's some of your thoughts when you hear that?
Yeah, man. I think the last time we talked, I talked about that moment where I felt like God told me, it's like, either you can let me do it or you're gonna crumble underneath the pressure. Yeah. And so that was the first thing, is I really had to do the seek ye first, because in my head I was going, I got it. All right, I saw my old man screw it up. I heard my mother's broken heart. I've seen this other stuff. You know, my friends at the time, some of them had been divorced, had been married and divorced. So I was like, I got this. You know what I'm saying? God, I got the scriptures. I'm good. I don't have to ask in every situation. I got this. So I stopped the seeking piece. Yeah. And therefore, I wasn't even at times as open with the tight circle that I had of men who were standing on the foundation that was causing not very obvious cracks in my relationship, but it was causing cracks that was getting ready to be a slow death. And when I finally said, God, I don't have this, I remember, I remember and it was around the time we were getting close, that my pastor asked us a question in premarital counseling. He said, what's going to happen, Aaron, when you get to year 17 of your marriage? And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean? Like, we trying to get to 18. This is easy. He was like, no. He was like, after 17, you actually don't have an example of what happens after year 17. He said, so what are you going to do? Where's your paradigm? Where are you going to go get it from? And I was going, and this man got a point. And if I went back and taking that point now, even before we got to 17, I started having some of the internal subconscious issues that my parents were having before 17 that led them to only be married 17 years.
Yeah.
But again, until you submit truly to the opening of that, because at some point it just became, yeah, I've been married 10 years and my friends have been divorced. So I'm feeling good. Like we 10 in. I've been married 12. We, you know what I mean? We good. And God was like, no, you're not. That's a veneer of a relationship. And until you get this right over here, you won't be able to get it right over there. And I remember, Crump, what you said is that your wife was like, well, I've been waiting for you to say this the whole time. Like we could have been here.
Yeah.
And in a lot of respects, after my wife got through some of the tears, she's been one of the best and the toughest through it, because she's like, all right, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. Come on.
Mhm.
Like, why you over here tripping? But because
Mm.
I didn't take care of the first third, I couldn't allow for the synergy and the next 2/3 to pop off, and I'm getting ready to lose all 3 of them.
Yeah, and that's so good. That's why I wanted him to speak on it. That's why I wanted him to speak on it, Chizzy. You know what I'm saying? That boy good. That boy, go back out there. That boy good. All right. But listen, man, I want to speak to this part, man, and we're gonna finish on this part. But one of man Chizzy talks about is, the 3-headed monster. Every man has a little boy in him. Every man has a little God in him. And every man has a little monster in him. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna let Chizzy, I'm gonna throw it back to him, because we don't discuss enough about that raging monster in us when it comes to, our sexual desires. Chemically, our body is 4 times more on sex drive. If our testosterone levels are healthy than a woman, they bleed every month. We have wet dreams every month. Like some of us not until our 30s and our 40s, like the drive of that. And now you got to be like, I got to get domesticated on how I cover that up. And some of us been covering that up since we was little boys, not knowing how to manage that and deal with that, not just publicly, but especially privately. Chizzy, I give it back to you, talking about that beast.
Obviously, I think it starts privately. Because, and when I say it starts privately, it means your attempt to manage that beast starts privately. So, having the ability, or having the right understanding of what your sexuality looks like, feels like, and how you act on it is important for you as for you first. Because a lot of times when it comes to making a decision for partners or girls, or someone you're going to be with, you have to really look at, the physical attributes that are leading you to even be promiscuous, leading you to be attracted to a woman, and why that is for you, why there's this unquenchable, uncontrollable desire to, to spread your seed, so to speak, as people say, right? And so when I say it starts internally for us, being able to understand that there are small things in your world that lead you into a path of promiscuity, that leads you along a path of being reckless with your choices from you first. You know what I'm saying? Because you can only control you. A woman comes into your space and you might see her to be attractive. But if you know that you've put stuff in place in your life so that you aren't led by the beast, then it prohibits you, like you were saying earlier, Aaron, to stop you from getting into situations where it's just a physical thing. And so you're already being able to anticipate, how you need to protect yourself from other people. And so it's
and from yourself.
and even from yourself. So spiritually, you're intentional about your eye gates and your ear gates and what you expose yourself to, what you're watching, what you're reading, who you're listening to. These subtle things that can kind of creep into, because you recognize that once you start, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, once you start that transformation, it gets to this big thing that you can't control. So you have to keep that beast under control.
Yeah,
we can have a whole other podcast about how to do that.
And Aaron, I'm gonna give it to you, but I can always tell when Chizzy got to work out. We go to the weight room. He like, I'm like, bro, I'm having sex almost every other day. I don't have that type of energy to put into the weights, bro. Like, I understand it. You got to put some self-discipline in place. So you got to take that
not easy, bro.
Bell. But I'm good on the treadmill and getting a couple shots up and maybe doing some push-ups. You know, so I'm trying to keep the belly down. But I'm going back to my wife, man. Get that. I'm gonna go back to the wife. But Aaron, speak to
But that's real
brother.
though, you know. That's real. That's a real
Oh
thing,
my
bro. That's
Lord,
real.
is this the funniest yet realest conversation
It's
I
real
done
though.
had with the fellas in a minute? So I want to talk about it from this angle, right? Because we talk
Yeah.
about the beast from the angle of stuff doesn't go right. You know, meaning, hey, me and my lady getting to it, or she showed up and she fine and everything else. But we don't talk about this enough when you got men who are true in the service, who are serving in their church, they love the Lord, and they doing other stuff. If you do it right, meaning if I'm coaching correctly, if I'm whatever, if I'm a minister in my church, if I'm doing that correctly, if I'm a deacon, whatever it is, when you serve from out of your spirit and not your head, you actually make yourself very vulnerable to being open to stuff that you're not paying attention to.
Yeah.
And you going, you know, something, I was actually straight. Like I was good. Like, you know, I've been on this good path. I remember being single. I was on this good path and, you know, hadn't been sleeping with nobody. And we got done singing in church and doing praise and worship. And I'm talking about the Lord had moved and everything. And I'm like, why am I trying to smash everything in the church right now?
Yeah.
What is going on? And I had a guy, one of my guys, he's still my guy to this day. He says, Aaron, we don't tell y'all that when you give up of your virtue that way, it leaves you open and you got to be intentional to close that thing back down.
Yeah.
Or when you come off the mountaintop, you're going to fool around and get caught up in what Satan tried to get Jesus when he came out of his 40-day fast.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. And so sometimes, especially in black church, you know, we got the armor bearers, and when it's done correctly, they be like, why the pastor act like he not touchable? That man done preached his head off. He done preached his clothes soaking wet. You can't come touch him. You can't come up in here until we actually pray and build him back up to be able to honor what it is he set out to do. We don't talk enough about that from prevention, that I could be in service and get caught up. And I know a lot of dudes that got caught up because they were in service and didn't know that the beast can still show up that way. Because they were always looking for the landmines, but the beast was subtle in service and got them too.
Yeah,
man,
we can do a
that's
whole
so
other
good.
part around that,
And-
man, for sure.
Yeah,
like,
but the context again, Aaron does such a great job of bringing context because
yeah, I like
one
it.
thing that I was taught, and I had some literature, and I do apologize, I don't have a source for this. But they were saying the reason why, if you are a man who operates in the spirit, why you got to have double awareness sexually, is because it gives off the same energy,
Yeah,
like sexual intimacy and spirit. That's why you will see a lot of clergy who have like porn problems or sexual, like it actually is the similar energy and intimacy, like that same spiritual intimacy you get with God. The dopamine from that is similar to the sexual intimacy you would have with a person. So sometimes people are literally looking for that same dopamine, and the person is just a byproduct. The situation is just collateral damage. You was actually looking for that same high that you was getting from God subconsciously. So that's why you gotta like literally have these things in place. And I know Chizzy is adamant about, bro, I gotta hit, not only I gotta hit the weight room and hit the weights, I gotta hit the sauna, sweat out all of my pores. I gotta make sure that all of that gets off of me so that I can really be present today, because I'm still a man. Like when we talk about being a masculine testosterone man, like, bro, you're not only attracted to one woman. Let's just keep it a spade a spade. Like you are attracted to what you are physically attracted to, but you have to say, all right, don't talk to him, don't stare. You don't have to do the double take ministry. Walk straight. Don't look back. Don't look back. Aaron, you all right? Bro, we do the mental. People don't realize this, but men who are trying to operate in value and virtue and honor, like you have to do mental gymnastics and talking points and self-talk to not take yourself down the road. But because you still got the chemical energy, you got to go work long hours, sometimes another shift, hit the gym, go play ball, go watch the game, yell at a screen. Like you got to get that out. So that you be like, all right, I'm good. You know what I mean? Get my mind. But if I just sit in a dark room by myself, you know, don't let a screen come on. Don't let, you know.
And that's how you circle back. That's how the hey big head text show up. Hey, what you doing, girl?
For sure.
Dang.
Sure. Well, that poor ministry kicks in. Your mind starts to wonder, that isolation. So you're like, oh man, it's a real thing, and it's a consistent, everyday struggle.
Come on.
I
Yeah,
mean, if
man.
us single guys have it one way, I'm pretty sure married men have it a different way, and even clergy and men in service, because the enemy ain't gonna try to deal with you if you're not really a threat. So when you're a greater threat, he's gonna send even more adversity in your direction. So you have to be
That part.
even more intentional about how you navigate that beast, and that beast is a everyday thing. Trust me when I tell you.
Man,
We're here
listen,
to tell you.
yeah, this has been good. Man, Aaron, you've been phenomenal, man. I can't wait to see the
Oh,
part, man. I can't wait to see. I can't wait till they consume your episode, man. Your
For
episode is
sure,
going to be
for
fire,
sure.
man. If you be ready, it's dropping, man. Make sure tomorrow you got all notifications on. You're getting the mini clips. We've been building up to my man.
Gotta
He's
see it.
doing this thing. Make sure you go to the platform, Boy Man King Talk. Check out the episode with Aaron. But Aaron, I want you to leave people, whether it was the men, the women, whatever is on your heart, your final thoughts about what you really want to share with the people.
yeah, I think here's the biggest thing I want people to be honest with. We talked about this a little bit the last time. Is I want us to be okay that is honest, that it's okay to be vulnerable. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
It's okay to be vulnerable. That is probably most people's biggest fear. That if I allow for you to see what I'm really thinking, hear what's really in my heart, and to be able to really show up in a different space, that I'm gonna get taken advantage of. Now, when I'm not asking you to do that in a reckless way, but
Come on, that part.
I will say that if everybody's honest, there's at least one person you can be vulnerable with. And you might not want to, because you got to get what? You got to get your pride out the way.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get rid of the facade of saying that I got it all together when you don't. Because at some point, when you feel like you got it all together, and then when you don't have any tools to actually keep you from the fall that's getting ready to happen. And many of us don't want to be vulnerable because we fear being judged, what they're going to think of me afterwards, as opposed to your vulnerability actually encourages somebody else that my experience wasn't for nothing. My bump in my head was actually worth something. Oh, that's why I went through that, because you were going to need it at this moment. But when we quiet and when we don't want to say anything, it allows for us all to be separated as islands, and the enemy's greatest attack happens to us when we're isolated, because he's better at talking crazy to us than we are talking crazy to him. So I would just say it is okay to be vulnerable, and ask the Lord, who is the person I can be vulnerable with, because I don't want to be out here by myself, and I know you meant for us to be in relationship together.
That's so good, man. Tell people any about upcoming things you got, projects, or how they can find more information and follow you on socials, man.
Yeah, you can follow me on socials. Instagram is my main spot. At Ask Aaron Victor. At Ask Aaron Victor. Super excited about a couple things that's happening. If you haven't gotten the book, good enough. We talked about that a little bit last time. Go get it. Now, some people say, Aaron, I don't read books, man. I ain't got time to be reading no book. I'm on the move. Got you. May 2nd, we're dropping what I'm calling a cinematic audio experience.
Come on.
Wow.
This ain't your ordinary audio book. It is a cinematic audio experience. God gave me a vision on how to be able to bring the story to life. And when people have already listened to it, they're going like, it's like I'm listening to and watching a movie, and it's audio. So mark your calendars, save the date everywhere you get your stuff at. It'll be on those platforms May the 2nd. I am super excited about it. And if you follow me, you might get a little annoyed, because we're going to start pumping up the excitement about it, because this is going to be special for people to be able to get it. Yeah.
That's super dope, man. Chizzy, man, what's your final thoughts? Thanks for sharing, Aaron.
Man, guys, just be nice to yourself. Be good to yourself. Give yourself grace. A lot of the stuff that we discuss and the struggles of man can, if you really sit back and analyze it, it can really get you down. Give yourself grace. Allow for growth. Allow for accountability. And just know that every day you're making a step forward, it's a day that you're making progress, and you'll see those progress. Just be consistent and live in this space of be good to yourself. Give yourself grace. That's my takeaway, man. If you live in grace, then you'll always feel like, you always feel like it's worth it, and you're not going to be too hard on yourself. And that's oftentimes what we do as men. We're too hard on ourselves, too hard on each other. Give yourself grace. Give other brothers grace. and you'll see how far that goes. It'll take you
I
off.
love it, man. And I love what Aaron shared to this episode. I want you guys to follow the Boy Man King podcast, man. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and save. And man, also, Aaron, I want to close us out with set the expectation and eliminates the frustration. Can you just give us that quote one more time before we close out?
Yeah. Listen, this is for everybody. Ladies, if y'all watching, fellas, if y'all watching, parents, all of that other stuff. I just want y'all to understand there is a point in your life that you have been down a road a little bit further than the people that you connected with.
Yeah.
And if you are humble to understand that your experience was meant for something greater, I need you to know this is that expectation minimizes frustration. And the thing that many of us are walking around is we're frustrated because nobody set the proper expectation for us that this is normal and you're going to be on the other side, okay, on the other side of it.
I love it.
Like
And
it.
look, and as we say on the Boy Man King podcast, the
Sir,
journey continues.
continues.
Man, y'all be out. We're blessed.
Peace,
Have a good
peace.
one, man. We're out.
Later.
Appreciate you. Man, that's it.